To color this in, we are going to think about our color families. We're going to think about monochromatic colors. We're going to think about creating tints and shades to complete this and color it in. So as I've said before, everything inside the box you're going to color in. Anything outside the box is just going to remain black and white, except for your animal. So you can see that your animal, or my animal, is coming from the outside and coming in, and it ties the whole picture together. I'm going to start off with color pencils, and I'm going to think about all those pink colors, and I'm going to think about making it light and dark using that monochromatic color scheme. So this, I think, would be the lightest, and then the second lightest going a little darker and really dark. So it goes from a tint to a shade, creating that monochromatic color scheme. So I'm going to start off thinking about the light and the dark areas, and I'm going to color this in using those light and dark areas. So I want to think about where the sun might be hitting it, where the sun might not be hitting it, where it's going to create those shadows. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to think about those areas as I'm coloring. Okay, so I'm going to start off with my lightest color. I'm going to color it in now, making sure I don't cross this line. Okay, so don't cross that edge. That's why we have that edge there, to remind you and me that we're not crossing that line. Okay, so that was the lightest. This is the second lightest. So my light is coming from above. So I'm going to have areas where there's lots of little nooks and crannies that have light and dark. Okay, going to my next color. Remember, I'm moving from light to dark, creating that value of different colors. Okay. I want to blend it together so that it makes it look realistic. I'm going to go in with my last one. Darkest value, the shade, where all those little lines fold together to create a shadow. Okay, this leaf is on, or this petal is on top of this other petal. It's going to create a shadow. This is the piston, and it's going to have a little shadow underneath it because it's on top, it's overlapping, it's going to create that shadow there. Maybe the edges of the leaves are a little darker, maybe they have little lines running through them to create that more realistic color. You want to blend it, so maybe go from dark to light. So I'm going to make it a little bit more blended by kind of doing these soft circles that go from one color to the next to allow them to morph together, so you can't really tell where that color ends and where the new color begins. Okay, that's called blending. Goes from light to dark, blends together, so it just creates that value tone. So you can tell it's starting to come together, starting to become more realistic looking. Now, remember, this is inside the box, so it's colorful. We're going to even color in the background. So I want you to slowly start coloring this in we're gonna get to about maybe half of it today, and we'll have one more day where we're working around the border and adding the final touches. So coloring inside the box today, pay attention closely to those lights and darks and creating that value. If you don't have a certain color, for me, I only have one gray. I have a silver that's a little bit lighter, but if I only have one color, I can alter the pressure that I'm placing on it. So if I want to make this color look lighter, I just gently apply pressure, not very much pressure at all actually, to make it nice and light. And then if I want a darker pressure, I place more emphasis, I put more pressure on my pencil, my material, to create that darker color, okay? So thinking about creating value using one color, I can create a light color and a dark color just by the amount of pressure that I have on that material. Okay, so I'm using my hand to apply pressure lightly or harder to create that darker color. Okay, so that's how you can use one material to create both light and dark. Okay, so by the end of day 2, you should have everything inside of the box colored in using those values. So making sure that it's from light to dark. You can see it really well on the elephant's trunk. Now the animal of your choice should be completely colored in, even when it's going outside of that box. He or it, your animal, is the main focus for this project. So that's the reason why it can go inside and outside of the box. So by the end of day 2, you should have this complete. Hi boys and girls, for day 3, what we are going to do is think about the border. Now we're going to think about positive and negative space. Right now we can kind of see that this is the positive space inside the box. The area around the box is the negative space, other than the elephant. The elephant is also positive space. So when we're thinking about the area around the box, we want to start thinking about that as being positive and negative space. So right now we have our leaves are kind of the positive space, and the background is usually the negative space. So we're going to think about that as black and white. So do we want the positive space to be black, or do we want the negative space to be black? So we have to think about it like that. So you can use markers, crayons, colored pencils to think about the positive and negative space that is around your animal, that's like the border that goes around your animal. So I'm going to use crayon to do this. So I'm going to use a black crayon to create my positive and negative space that goes around it. So I'm going to leave the white, or the leaves white for this. And I'm going to create the negative space as black. So I'm going to go in with my black crayon, and I'm going to color in all that negative space black. So those are the negative space, remember, is the area around the leaves, the plants, the elephant. That's the background. So you want to think about the background as being either white or black. So I'm deciding that I want my negative space to be black because I have more of that that's black, that's blank, than the positive space. And I would rather have that be a color than just plain white. I think that for me, that would look better for my picture. If you have more leaves and more objects that go around the paper, maybe you want them to be black instead. So I chose the larger area that is empty to be my area that I color in. But you can choose which area you want to be colored in. That one is up to you. Okay, so I have completely colored in all the areas where the negative space is. If I want to go in and add the inside of the leaves, that little stem area inside the middle, the center of that leaf that runs down along that leaf, then I can do that. And I want to make sure that I have all the details and that everything is colored in nice and neatly. I'm leaving minimal white spots. There might be some because of some areas that I couldn't color in completely, but there shouldn't be, there shouldn't be any big areas or messy areas of white spaces showing. There might be little areas of white to kind of show where the light is hitting, but that should be for your value. That shouldn't be areas that are missing color. So I'm just going to go through and make sure that I have all the details that I want and show that balance of light and dark and that contrast, and make your eye really focus on those different areas. So I want to have some details on those areas. I might even go in and on my leaves kind of match up those lines, because to me right now it looks like I'm missing that on my leaves. So I want to make sure that I have all the details that I need in my project and that it flows nice and neatly. It flows really well from one area of the project to the next. So even though some of it is black and white, it connects in some way. So check your work, make sure that it's the way you want it, make sure that you've colored it in nice and neatly, and then you can go to that link and you can upload your artwork so that I can see all the cool projects, all your different favorite animals, all the value that you've created, and all that contrast of positive and negative that you've placed into your artwork. I'm so excited to see what you do. I'll see you next time.